Okay, folks, this was my very first introduction to the music of Tangerine Dream. Heard it on a Nova PBS show, and the title was Portrait of a Killer, about heart attacks, and it was on side B of this tape. The show that preceded Nova was another Nova episode called Okavango in the Great River Delta. I recorded this on September the 12th, 1979. Got to rewind it here a bit.
To develop a new kind of lens.
Tracking into a small artery, Nilsson could now get a sharp image and startlingly clear detail.
The diameter of this artery was, let's say, nearly 2 millimeters, the diameter. And it was very, very hard to avoid that the lens touch the walls of the artery.
Another tool Nilsson has at his disposal is the electron microscope. He can scan the surface of tissues at increasing magnification, enlarging a detail as much as 200,000 times. Magnified 20,000 times, this is how a red blood cell looks. At this magnification, a man would be 22 miles tall. Nilsson used an electron microscope to photograph this nerve cell, which appears in Behold Man, along with other photos made with his new lenses, like this heart valve. He captures the pituitary gland hanging in the brain on its stalk, and shows us the view through the pupil of the eye. In order to take motion pictures of living cells, Nilsson rigged a light microscope with a moving table. That enabled him to follow movements of minute bodies with a 16mm film camera attached to the microscope. Red blood cells can now be filmed as they move along in the bloodstream. With these new techniques and lenses at their disposal, Nilsson and Lindberg teamed up with Swedish TV to produce the following film on the progress of cardiovascular disease. Jan Lindberg.
I have thought about what a TV audience can learn about a film about hypertension, and I think the film we made perhaps could inform them a little about the processes in the body, can show them what will happen when they are going in the street with an untreated hypertension, for example.
Here again, in slow motion, is the brain hemorrhage we saw at the beginning of the film. stroke may seem to happen suddenly, it is actually the culmination of a long process of arteriosclerosis, in which the arteries become clogged and inflexible. In the brain, thickened blood channels and hypertension make a deadly combination, which often leads to the catastrophe we just witnessed.
Here we go. This was from Rubicon.
The brain is the most vulnerable of all our organs. Deprived of oxygen, brain cells die within 6 minutes. These ribbons of color mark the blood channels of the brain. The large red vessel is the powerful carotid artery, which supplies the brain with oxygenated blood. If brain arteries become narrow or blocked, not enough blood reaches the cells. Starving them of oxygen could have irreversible consequences. This is the inside of the carotid artery. The camera is tracking upward toward the brain, but the lens will never reach it because the path is blocked by a blood clot. We are looking at a picture of death. The human body is laced with blood vessels of varying sizes, intricately arranged so that no cell is very far from a channel and the nutrients it carries. With three-layered walls, the arteries are the thickest vessels. Tissues of the outer two layers are elastic, so that the artery can expand and contract to accommodate changes in pressure as the heart pumps blood. This action also regulates the flow, so the blood is not spurting, but streaming smoothly as it flows from the arteries to the smaller vessels.